The glass doors of Sterling Fashion House slid open with a soft whisper as Jake Harrison stepped inside. The luxury store on Luna Station gleamed under bright lights, with expensive suits and dresses displayed like art pieces behind crystal cases. The air smelled of leather and expensive cologne, and soft classical music played from hidden speakers. Jake looked around the impressive store with tired eyes. His simple brown jacket was wrinkled from months of space travel, and his jeans had seen better days. His dark hair was messy, and he needed a shave. After 6 months on a deep space mission to the outer colonies, he looked nothing like the polished customers who usually shopped here. Behind the main counter, Lisa Morgan looked up from her tablet and frowned. She was a tall woman in her 30s, dressed in a perfect black suit with her blonde hair pulled back in a tight bun. Her eyes moved up and down Jake's appearance, taking in his worn clothes and tired face. Her expression showed clear disapproval. Jake walked slowly toward the men's section, his boots making soft sounds on the polished floor. He stopped in front of a display of formal suits, studying the craftsmanship. These were the kind of clothes worn by diplomats and wealthy business people from across the galaxy. Lisa watched him for a moment, then walked over with quick, sharp steps. Her heels clicked loudly on the floor, and other customers turned to look. "Excuse me," she said in a cold voice. "Can I help you with something?" Jake turned to face her with a gentle smile. "Yes, thank you. I need a formal suit for an important ceremony next week. Something appropriate for a diplomatic event." Lisa's eyebrows went up, and she let out a small laugh. "A diplomatic event? Really?" She looked at his clothes again, making sure he could see her judgment. "Sir, I think you might be in the wrong store. This is Sterling Fashion House. We serve a very specific clientele." "I understand," Jake said calmly. "I'm looking for quality formal wear. Money isn't a concern." "Money isn't a concern," Lisa repeated, her voice getting louder. Several other customers started to notice the conversation. "Do you have any idea how much these suits cost?" "The one you're looking at is 12,000 credits. Jake nodded without showing any surprise at the price. "That seems reasonable for the quality. Could I try it on?" Lisa stared at him for a long moment, then shook her head. "I'm sorry, but I don't think that's going to work. These suits are made for people who attend diplomatic events. Real diplomatic events." A couple shopping nearby stopped talking and turned to watch. The woman whispered something to her husband, who frowned at Lisa's tone. Jake remained patient. "I assure you, the event is quite real. It's being held at the Galactic Council chambers on Earth. I need something appropriate for the occasion." "The Galactic Council chambers," Lisa repeated slowly, as if speaking to a child. "Right, and I suppose you're some kind of ambassador?" "Not exactly," Jake said. "But I do work with various diplomatic missions." Lisa laughed again, louder this time. "Work with diplomatic missions, I see. And what kind of work do you do exactly? Are you maybe a janitor at one of these diplomatic buildings?" Jake's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. "I'm a pilot." "A pilot," Lisa said, nodding. "Of course. Let me guess, you fly cargo ships? Maybe you deliver supplies to these diplomatic missions?" "Something like that," Jake said quietly. By now, more customers were watching the exchange. A young man near the back of the store pulled out his phone and started recording. An elderly couple shook their heads in disapproval at Lisa's behavior. Lisa seemed to enjoy the attention. She spoke louder, making sure everyone could hear. "Sir, I'm going to be honest with you. This store caters to very important people. Senators, business leaders, actual diplomats. People who can afford to shop here and who understand quality." She gestured at his clothes. "You look like you haven't slept in a proper bed in weeks. Your clothes are old and worn. You smell like machine oil and recycled air. This is not the kind of establishment where you should be shopping." Jake listened to every word without anger or reaction. His hands remained at his sides, relaxed. I understand your concerns about my appearance. I've been traveling for work. But I do need formal wear, and I've heard good things about this store. Traveling for work, Lisa repeated. In what, some old cargo hauler? Look, there are plenty of discount clothing stores in the lower levels of the station. I'm sure you can find something more appropriate for your budget down there. A well-dressed woman near the evening gown section spoke up. Excuse me, but is this really necessary? The man is just asking to look at suits. Lisa turned toward her with a bright, fake smile. Ma'am, I'm just trying to maintain the standards our regular customers expect. I'm sure you understand. The woman looked uncomfortable and turned back to her shopping, but she kept glancing over at Jake with concern. Lisa turned back to Jake, her voice becoming sharper. Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. You're making our other customers uncomfortable. Jake looked around the store. Most of the customers were watching the scene, but they looked uncomfortable with Lisa's behavior, not his presence. I don't think I'm the one making people uncomfortable. Are you arguing with me? Lisa's voice rose. I'm the senior sales associate here, and I have the authority to refuse service to anyone, especially people who clearly don't belong in a store like this. Jake stood quietly for a moment, studying her face. I'm not arguing with anyone. I'm simply trying to purchase formal wear for an important event. If you're not comfortable serving me, perhaps there's someone else who could help. Lisa's face turned red. There's no one else who would help you. This entire store has standards, and you don't meet them. I'm going to call my manager and have you escorted out if you don't leave voluntarily. The young man with the phone moved closer, making sure he was getting everything on video. Other customers stopped pretending to shop and watched openly now. Jake nodded slowly. If that's what you feel you need to do, then please do it. I'll wait. His calm response seemed to make Lisa even angrier. She had expected him to argue or leave in embarrassment. Instead, he stood there with the same patient expression, as if dealing with difficult people was something he did every day. Fine. Lisa snapped. Carl, I need you out here right now. From the back office, a man's voice called out, I'll be right there, Lisa. Jake remained where he was, hands clasped loosely behind his back, looking completely at ease despite the hostile situation. His calm presence seemed to fill the space around him, and several customers found themselves wondering who this quiet man really was. Carl Peterson emerged from the back office, straightening his tie as he walked. He was a middle-aged man with graying hair and kind eyes, wearing a perfectly tailored navy suit. As the store manager, he had dealt with difficult situations before, but he could see the tension in the room immediately. What seems to be the problem, Lisa? Carl asked, his voice calm and professional. Lisa pointed at Jake with an angry gesture. This man refuses to leave the store. He's been harassing me and making our customers uncomfortable. He claims he wants to buy a 12,000 credit suit, but just look at him. Carl glanced at Jake, taking in his worn appearance. Jake stood quietly, his hands still clasped behind his back, showing no signs of anger or frustration. His posture was straight and confident, despite his tired clothes. Sir, Carl said politely, I'm Carl Peterson, the manager here. Is there something I can help you with? I was hoping to purchase formal wear for an upcoming ceremony, Jake said in the same calm voice he had used with Lisa. I explained this to your associate, but she seems to believe I don't belong in your store. Lisa stepped forward quickly. Carl, he's been aggressive and rude. He won't take no for an answer. I've told him multiple times that this store isn't for people like him, but he keeps insisting he has money. Carl frowned slightly. Jake didn't seem aggressive at all. In fact, he seemed remarkably calm for someone who had apparently been asked to leave a store. People like him? Carl repeated Lisa's words carefully. You know what I mean, Lisa said, lowering her voice but not enough to keep others from hearing. Look at his clothes. He smells like he's been living on a space freighter. He probably hasn't showered in days. Our regular customers shouldn't have to deal with this. Around the store, several customers were now openly staring. The young man with the phone had moved closer, making sure his camera caught everything. An older woman near the accessories section shook her head in disgust at Lisa's words. I travel frequently for work, Jake explained to Carl. I've been in space for several months. I understand my appearance isn't ideal, but I do need appropriate clothing for an important event. What kind of event? Carl asked, genuinely curious. A ceremony at the Galactic Council, Jake said simply. Lisa rolled her eyes dramatically. See? He's delusional. He thinks he's going to some imaginary ceremony with the Galactic Council. Carl, we need to call station security before this gets worse. Carl studied Jake's face more carefully. There was something about the man's calm confidence that didn't match Lisa's description of an unstable vagrant. What kind of ceremony, if you don't mind me asking? I'm receiving an award, Jake said, for service to interstellar relations. Lisa laughed loudly. An award, did you hear that, Carl? He thinks he's getting an award from the Galactic Council. This is exactly what I was talking about. He's living in some fantasy world. But Carl noticed something Lisa had missed. When Jake mentioned the award, he didn't seem proud or boastful. He said it the same way someone might mention a routine work meeting. There was no excitement or bragging in his voice. Lisa, Carl said carefully, why don't you help the other customers while I speak with this gentleman? Carl, you can't be serious. Look at him. He's obviously not right in the head. We need to get him out of here before he causes a scene. As if to prove her point, Lisa's voice had gotten loud enough that every customer in the store was now watching. A well-dressed couple near the front entrance looked embarrassed and quickly left. The young man with the phone stepped closer, his camera still recording. Ma'am, the young man said to Lisa, excuse me, but are you treating this customer fairly? Lisa spun around to face him. Excuse me? This is a private business matter. Please put that camera away. I'm Kevin Walsh, the young man said. I'm a reporter for Luna Station News. I'm just wondering if Sterling Fashion House has a policy of judging customers by their appearance. Lisa's face went pale. You're a reporter? You can't film in here without permission. Actually, I can. Kevin said, this is a public space on the station. And what I'm seeing here looks like discrimination to me. Carl stepped forward quickly. Now let's everyone calm down. There's no need for this to become a news story. Jake remained silent through this exchange, but his communication device suddenly chimed with an incoming message. The sound was different. From a normal personal communicator, it had the distinctive tone of military communications. Commander Harrison, a crisp female voice said from the device. This is Admiral Clark. Please confirm your status for tomorrow's briefing. Jake pressed a button on the device. Admiral, I'm currently off duty. I'll be available for the briefing as scheduled. Excellent. And Commander, congratulations again on the Council's decision. The entire fleet is proud of you. Thank you, Admiral. Harrison out. The store fell completely silent. Even Lisa stopped talking, staring at Jake's communication device with wide eyes. Commander? Carl said quietly. Did she say Admiral? Lisa whispered, the color draining from her face. Kevin Walsh's eyes lit up with recognition. He stepped closer to Jake, studying his face carefully. Wait a minute. You look familiar. Are you the pilot who saved the Centauri colonies? Jake looked uncomfortable with the attention. I was part of that mission. Yes, part of that mission. Kevin's voice rose with excitement. You were the mission. You single-handedly prevented 3 colonies from being destroyed. You're Jake Harrison, the hero of Centauri. Lisa stumbled backward. bumping into a display case. That's impossible. The hero of Centauri is ... he's famous. He's a legend. He wouldn't be here looking like someone who's been in deep space for months saving lives. Kevin finished. Man, do you have any idea who you've been talking to? Carl's face had gone completely white. He recognized the name now. Jake Harrison was possibly the most famous pilot in human space. His rescue of the Centauri colonies had been on every news feed for weeks. He was a genuine hero, respected throughout the galaxy. Mr. Harrison, Carl said, his voice shaking slightly, I am so sorry. Please let me personally help you find whatever you need. But Lisa wasn't finished. Despite the evidence, she shook her head stubbornly. No, this is some kind of trick. The real Jake Harrison would never look like this. This man is just pretending to be someone famous. Kevin held up his phone, showing a news article with Jake's picture. Man, this is definitely him. Look at the photo. Lisa glanced at the phone, then at Jake, then back at the phone. The resemblance was unmistakable, even with Jake's tired appearance and messy hair. That could be anyone, she said weakly, but her voice lacked conviction. Around the store, other customers were pulling out their own phones, searching for news articles about Jake Harrison. Whispers filled the air as people confirmed his identity. Oh, my God, someone said. It really is him. The hero of Centauri is in our store. Another customer whispered. Lisa looked around at the faces staring at her, then at Jake, who still stood quietly in the center of the growing storm. She had made a terrible mistake, and everyone in the store knew it. Kevin Walsh stepped closer to Jake, his phone held steady as he continued recording. His hands shook slightly with excitement as he realized he was witnessing something that would make major news across the galaxy. Commander Harrison, Kevin said respectfully, I'm Kevin Walsh from Luna Station News. I covered your story when you saved the Centauri colonies. Could you confirm for our viewers that you are indeed the Jake Harrison who prevented the destruction of 3 colony worlds? Jake looked uncomfortable with the attention but answered honestly, Yes, that's correct. Though I wasn't working alone on that mission. But you were the lead pilot, Kevin pressed. You flew into the asteroid field when everyone else said it was impossible. You single-handedly destroyed the rogue weapons platform that threatened millions of lives. Lisa watched this exchange with growing horror. She had seen the news reports about Centauri. Everyone in human space knew the story. A massive weapons platform had gone out of control, threatening to destroy 3 peaceful colony worlds. The military had declared the situation hopeless because the platform was surrounded by a deadly asteroid field that no ship could navigate. Then Jake Harrison had volunteered for what everyone called a suicide mission. He had flown his small fighter through the impossible maze of spinning rocks and explosions, somehow reaching the platform and destroying it just minutes before it would have fired on the colonies. The rescue had saved over 10 million people. That was 6 months ago, an elderly woman customer said, stepping forward. Have you been in space this whole time? Jake nodded. There were follow-up missions to help rebuild the damaged infrastructure on the colonies. We've been working with the survivors to get their settlements back to normal. Carl Peterson felt sick to his stomach. Jake Harrison was a living legend, a man whose bravery had saved millions of lives. And Lisa had treated him like garbage, insulting him and trying to throw him out of the store. Mr. Harrison, Carl said, his voice full of respect, please allow me to apologize for the treatment you received here today. This is absolutely not how Sterling Fashion House conducts business. But Lisa wasn't ready to accept the truth. Even with the evidence right in front of her, she shook her head stubbornly. This is ridiculous, she said, though her voice lacked its earlier confidence. The real Jake Harrison is a hero. He's probably rich and famous. He would never shop in a place like this looking like that. Kevin turned his camera toward Lisa. Ma'am, are you seriously suggesting that Commander Harrison is lying about his identity? I'm saying that heroes don't look like homeless people, Lisa snapped. They wear nice clothes and smell good and act important. This man looks like he hasn't had a proper meal in weeks. Jake spoke quietly. Actually, she's not entirely wrong. The food on deep space missions isn't very good. And shower facilities are limited when you're working in small ships for months at a time. An older man near the back of the store stepped forward. Young lady, do you have any idea what deep space missions are like? These people sacrifice months of their lives in cramped, uncomfortable conditions to protect the rest of us. Of course they don't look fresh when they return. Exactly, said a woman holding her husband's arm. My son serves in the Outer Rim Patrol. When he comes home on leave, he looks exhausted too. That's what happens when you serve others. More customers were gathering around now, and several were recording the scene on their phones. Word was spreading quickly through social media that Jake Harrison, the hero of Centauri, was being mistreated at Sterling Fashion House. Lisa looked around at the faces surrounding her. Everyone was staring at her with disapproval and disgust. She realized that her treatment of Jake was being broadcast live across the galaxy. I didn't know, she said weakly. You didn't want to know, Kevin said, still recording. Commander, Harrison told you he was a pilot. He told you he traveled for diplomatic missions. He told you he was attending a ceremony at the Galactic Council. But you decided he was lying because of how he looked. Jake's communication device chimed again. This time, the voice that came through was different, deeper, and with a slight accent that many people in the store recognized. Commander Harrison, this is Ambassador Theron of the Andromedan Republic. I wanted to personally thank you again for your service to our people. The ceremony tomorrow will be a great honor for both our species. Jake pressed the response button. Thank you, Ambassador. I look forward to seeing you there. The entire Andromedan delegation is excited to meet with you. Your actions at Centauri showed the galaxy what human courage truly means. The store fell silent again. The Andromedans were one of the most respected species in the galaxy. For their ambassador to personally call Jake was proof of his importance that no one could deny. Carl Peterson looked like he might faint. Commander Harrison, the ceremony tomorrow. Is that the one you were shopping for? Yes, Jake said simply. I'm receiving the Cross of Galactic Service. It's being presented by representatives from 12 different species. Lisa made a small, choking sound. The Cross of Galactic Service was the highest honor that could be given to any being in the galaxy. It had only been awarded 15 times in history, and never before to a human. 12 species? Carl repeated in amazement. The colonies we saved at Centauri were home to people from many different worlds, Jake explained. Humans, Andromedans, Centaurians, and others. The rescue mission helped strengthen relationships between all of our peoples. Kevin's eyes were wide with excitement. This was the biggest story of his career. Commander, can you tell us more about the ceremony? Jake looked uncomfortable with the attention. I'd rather not discuss the details. It's meant to be a private ceremony, though I understand some media will be present. A private ceremony with 12 galactic species, the elderly woman said. In amazement. And you were shopping for a suit to wear to it. I need appropriate formal wear, Jake said with a slight smile. I can't attend a diplomatic ceremony in my work clothes. Lisa stared at him in horror. She had tried to prevent a galactic hero from buying a suit for the most important ceremony in recent history. She had insulted a man who was respected by species across the galaxy. And it was all being recorded and broadcast to millions of people. Oh God, she whispered. What have I done? Carl stepped forward quickly. Commander Harrison, please, let me personally assist you in selecting the finest formal wear we have. Everything in the store is at your disposal, with our compliments. That's very kind, Jake said, but I'm happy to pay for whatever I purchase. Absolutely not, Carl said firmly. After the way you've been treated here today, it's the least we can do. Around the store, customers were shaking their heads in disbelief at Lisa's behavior. Several were already posting about the incident on social media, and the story was spreading rapidly across the galactic network. Lisa realized that her life was about to change forever, and not in a good way. Kevin Walsh held up his tablet, showing the screen to everyone in the store. The headline read in bold letters, "Hero pilot Jake Harrison saves billions of lives in Centauri crisis." Below it was a clear photo of Jake in his military uniform, standing next to his fighter ship. "This article is from 6 months ago," Kevin announced to the crowd. "It has over 2 billion views across the galactic network. Commander Harrison's rescue mission is considered one of the greatest acts of heroism in modern history." Lisa stared at the tablet screen, her face completely white. The photo showed Jake looking clean and professional in his uniform, but his face was unmistakably the same as the tired man standing in front of her. There was no denying it anymore. Kevin began reading from the article. Commander Jake Harrison, age 34, piloted his single-seat fighter through the Centauri asteroid field, despite warnings that the mission was impossible. Military experts said no pilot could navigate the field and survive. Harrison proved them wrong, reaching the rogue weapons platform with just 3 minutes to spare before it would have fired on 3 colony worlds. The customers in the store listened in amazement. Several were taking pictures of Jake, though he looked uncomfortable with the attention. The article goes on, Kevin continued. Harrison's actions saved the lives of over 10 million colonists from 12 different species. The rescue operation helped prevent what could have become the worst disaster in galactic history. Carl Peterson felt sweat on his forehead. Sterling Fashion House had just insulted the most famous hero in human space. The story was already spreading across social media, and he could see the disaster coming. "There's more," Kevin said, scrolling down on his tablet. After the rescue, Commander Harrison volunteered to stay in the Centauri system for 6 months to help coordinate rebuilding efforts. He worked with refugee assistance programs and helped establish new supply lines to the damaged colonies. An elderly woman in the store spoke up. "So he's been living on supply ships and refugee stations for 6 months? No wonder he looks tired." "That's right," Kevin said. According to this follow-up article, Harrison refused all offers of comfortable quarters or luxury accommodations. He insisted on staying with the regular aid workers, sharing the same basic facilities as everyone else. Lisa felt sick to her stomach. Jake hadn't just saved millions of lives, he had spent months of his own life helping them rebuild. While she had been working in a comfortable store on Luna Station, he had been living in cramped ships and basic refugee camps, working to help others. Jake's communication device chimed once more. This time, the voice was different again, older and more formal. "Commander Harrison, this is Secretary General Williams of the United Earth Government. I wanted to personally confirm your attendance at tomorrow's ceremony. The President will be presenting your award personally," Jake responded quietly. "Yes, sir, I'll be there." "Excellent. Commander, I want you to know that this award represents not just Earth's gratitude, but the gratitude of species across the galaxy. Your actions have brought great honor to humanity." "Thank you, sir. I was just doing my job." "Modesty is admirable, Commander, but what you did was far beyond the call of duty. We'll see you tomorrow." The communication ended, leaving the store in stunned silence. The Secretary General of Earth had just personally called Jake Harrison. The President of Earth was going to present his award. This wasn't just any ceremony. This was a historic event. Carl could barely speak. "Commander Harrison, the President of Earth? It's just part of the ceremony," Jake said, looking embarrassed by all the attention. "I'm sure there will be many officials there." Kevin was frantically searching for more information on his tablet. "Here it is," he said excitedly. "Tomorrow's ceremony at the Galactic Council. Jake Harrison will receive the Cross of Galactic Service, the highest honor any being can receive. The award is being presented jointly by Earth's President, the Andromedan, High Council, and representatives from 10 other species." He continued reading. "The ceremony will be broadcast live to over 500 worlds. It's expected to be watched by more than 50 billion beings across the galaxy." Lisa made a small whimpering sound. 50 billion beings would potentially see the story of how she had treated the guest of honor. Her name and face were already spreading across social media, attached to videos of her insulting a galactic hero. "There's more," Kevin said, his voice rising with excitement. "After the ceremony, Commander Harrison will be appointed as the first human ambassador for interspecies relations. He'll be working directly with the Galactic Council to improve relationships between different species." Carl felt dizzy. Jake Harrison wasn't just a war hero. He was about to become one of the most important diplomats in the galaxy. And Sterling Fashion House had tried to throw him out of their store. Around the store, customers were shaking their heads in disbelief. Several were recording their own videos, talking about what they had witnessed. The story was spreading faster than anyone could control. "Ma'am," an older man said to Lisa, "do you understand what you've done? You insulted a hero who saved billions of lives. You tried to kick out a man who represents the best of humanity." Lisa couldn't speak. She stared at Jake, who stood quietly in the center of the chaos he hadn't asked for. Even now, with everyone defending him and praising him, he looked uncomfortable with the attention. "I think," Jake said quietly, "that perhaps I should leave. I don't want to cause any more trouble for your store." "No," Carl said quickly. "Please, Commander Harrison. Let me personally help you select the finest formal wear we have. It would be an honor to serve you." "That's very kind," Jake said, "but I think the situation has become too complicated. Perhaps I should shop elsewhere." Kevin stepped forward. "Commander, with respect, this story is already public. The whole galaxy is going to know what happened here today. How you handle the situation will be part of your legacy." Jake considered this for a moment. "What do you mean?" "You could leave." Angry, Kevin explained. "You could demand apologies and make a big scene. Or you could show the galaxy the same grace and dignity that made you a hero in the first place." Lisa watched Jake's face as he thought about Kevin's words. She realized that her fate was now in the hands of the man she had insulted and humiliated. The man who could destroy her reputation with a single angry statement to the media. But Jake Harrison had not become a galactic hero by being cruel or vengeful. He had earned his reputation through courage, sacrifice, and putting others before himself. "Mr. Peterson," Jake said to Carl, "I would be honored to have your assistance in selecting appropriate attire for tomorrow's ceremony, but I insist on paying for whatever I purchase." Carl nearly cried with relief. "Of course, Commander. It would be my privilege to serve you." As Carl led Jake toward the finest suits in the store, Lisa realized that Jake Harrison had just saved her job and possibly her future. Despite everything she had done to him, he had chosen kindness over revenge. She had never felt smaller in her entire life. Within 1 hour of Kevin Walsh posting his video online, the story had exploded across the galactic network. The footage of Lisa Morgan insulting Jake Harrison was being shared on every major news platform from Earth to the outer colonies. The hashtag Sterling Shame was trending on social media. Across 12 different species networks. Lisa sat in the store's back office, watching her life fall apart on Carl's computer screen. Her personal social media accounts were flooded with angry messages from humans and aliens alike. People were posting her photo with comments like, "This is how she treated our hero, and never forget this face." "Lisa," Carl said gently, "I think You should go home for the day. This situation is getting out of control. On the computer screen, they watched as news reporters from across the galaxy picked up the story. A Centaurian news anchor was showing the video with translated subtitles. This human female insulted the being who saved our children's lives. The anchor said in his musical voice. She judged Commander Harrison by his appearance, not knowing he had spent months helping our people rebuild their homes. A human reporter on Earth News was equally harsh. Jake Harrison represents the best of humanity. He saved billions of lives and then spent 6 months helping refugees. For a store employee to treat him like garbage shows a shocking lack of basic decency. But the most damaging coverage came from the Andromedan Republic's official news service. Ambassador Theron himself appeared on camera, his tall blue form radiating obvious displeasure. "Commander Harrison is considered a hero by my people," Theron said in perfect English. "He risked his life to save Andromedan families on the Centauri colonies. To see him treated with such disrespect is deeply troubling. It makes us question whether humans truly value the heroes among them." Lisa buried her face in her hands. The Andromedans were humanity's most important allies. Their disappointment could affect diplomatic relationships across the galaxy. The video continued to spread. Within 2 hours, it had been viewed over 50 million times. News outlets were calling it the Sterling Scandal and how not to treat a hero. Late-night talk show hosts were already making jokes about it, but the real damage was happening to the Sterling fashion house itself. Customers were canceling orders and demanding refunds. The store's social media pages were flooded with negative reviews. People were posting photos of themselves throwing away Sterling fashion house shopping bags. Carl's personal phone rang constantly with calls from angry customers, concerned corporate executives, and reporters wanting statements. The store's main customer service line had crashed from the volume of complaints. "Mr. Peterson," his assistant said, poking her head into the office, "Channel 7 News is here. They want to interview you about the incident," Carl groaned. "Tell them I'll have a statement later." On the computer, they watched as the story took on a life of its own. Social media users were sharing their own stories of being judged by their appearance. Veterans talked about being treated poorly when they returned from service looking tired and worn. People who worked difficult jobs shared experiences of being looked down upon by store employees. A retired space marine posted a video that quickly went viral. "I've been where Commander Harrison has been," the grizzled veteran said. 6 months. In space, eating ration packs, sleeping in cramped bunks, working around the clock to help people. You don't come back looking like a fashion model. You come back looking like someone who's been through hell for other people. This saleswoman judged a hero by his clothes instead of his character. The story was becoming bigger than just one incident at one store. It was turning into a conversation about respect, service, and how society treats its heroes. Meanwhile, messages of support for Jake Harrison poured in from across the galaxy. The governor of Centauri Prime released a statement saying, "Commander Harrison is welcome in any establishment in our system, wearing whatever clothes he chooses. He saved our world." The president of Earth posted on social media, "Jake Harrison embodies the best values of humanity. Tomorrow we honor not just his heroism, but his humility and grace. Any business would be privileged to serve him." Even more powerful was a message from the families Jake had saved. A group of Centaurian children had made a video thanking him. "Commander Harrison saved our mommies and daddies," one little girl said in broken English. "He's the best human in the galaxy." Lisa watched these messages through tears. She was seeing the real impact of Jake's actions, the lives he had saved, the families he had kept together, the hope he had given to entire worlds. And she had treated him like trash. The financial impact on Sterling Fashion House was swift and brutal. Their stock price dropped 15% in the first hour after the story broke. Major customers were pulling their accounts. The luxury brand that prided itself on serving important people was being rejected by those same people. Carl received a call from the company's board of directors. The conversation was brief and brutal. Sterling Fashion House needed to do damage control immediately, or the brand might not survive. "Lisa," Carl said after hanging up, "I'm sorry, but I have to let you go. Effective immediately." Lisa nodded numbly. She had expected this. No company could keep an employee who had caused this kind of public relations disaster. "I'll pack my things," she said quietly. As Lisa cleaned out her desk, she could hear the reporters gathering outside the store. Camera crews from multiple networks were setting up equipment. The story was growing bigger by the hour, but the most powerful response came from an unexpected source. Jake Harrison himself released a brief statement through his military public affairs office. "I hold no anger toward the employee who served me today," Jake's statement read. "We all make mistakes in judgment. What matters is how we learn and grow from those mistakes. I hope this incident will remind everyone to treat all people with kindness and respect, regardless of their appearance. The true measure of a person is not in their clothes, but in their character and actions." Lisa read Jake's statement and cried harder. Even after everything she had done to him, he was defending her. He was trying to calm the storm of anger directed at her. His grace and forgiveness only made her feel worse about her behavior. The contrast was stark and painful. Jake Harrison, tired and wearing simple clothes, had shown more class and dignity than she had in her expensive suit and perfect appearance. She had learned the hardest lesson of her life, that real worth has nothing to do with how someone looks. Outside, the reporters waited for statements. The galaxy watched the story unfold, and tomorrow's ceremony loomed large. Jake Harrison would receive the highest honor any being could earn, while Lisa Morgan faced the consequences of judging a hero by his clothes. The whole galaxy would remember this day, but for very different reasons. 3 days after the ceremony, Jake Harrison returned to Sterling Fashion House. This time, he was not alone. Behind him walked Admiral Susan Clark, Ambassador Theron of the Andromedan Republic, and Secretary General Williams. The group moved with quiet dignity through the store's gleaming entrance. Carl Peterson nearly fainted when he saw them coming. The most powerful people in human space, plus one of the galaxy's most respected alien diplomats, were walking into his store. He rushed forward, his hands shaking. "Commander Harrison, welcome back. How can we serve you today?" Jake smiled warmly. "Actually, we're here for something else. These officials wanted to see the store where the incident happened. They're curious about how we handle situations like this." The ceremony 3 days earlier had been watched by over 60 billion beings across the galaxy. Jake had received the Cross of Galactic Service with grace and humility. In his acceptance speech, he had spoken about treating all people with dignity and respect. He had not mentioned the Sterling Fashion House incident, but everyone knew what he was referring to. "Mr. Peterson," Admiral Clark said, "we understand that your employee was terminated after the incident. Where is she now?" Carl looked nervous. "I believe she's looking for new employment, Admiral. The situation was very difficult for everyone involved." "I'd like to speak with her," Jake said quietly. "Do you have her contact information?" Carl hesitated. "Commander, I'm not sure that's wise. She's been receiving a lot of negative attention. She might not want to see you." "That's exactly why I need to see her," Jake replied. An hour later, Lisa Morgan sat in a small coffee shop in the lower levels of Luna Station. She had been hiding from reporters and living off her savings since losing her job. Her apartment had been surrounded by news crews for days. She couldn't go anywhere without being recognized and confronted by angry people. When Jake Harrison walked into the coffee shop, Lisa wanted to disappear. She was wearing simple clothes now, her perfect appearance replaced by the tired look of someone who hadn't slept well in days. "Lisa," Jake said gently, sitting down across from her. "How are you doing?" Lisa stared at him in shock. "How am I doing?" "Commander Harrison, I ruined your shopping experience. I insulted you. I treated you terribly. And you're asking how I'm doing?" "Yes, I am." Lisa's eyes filled with tears. "I've lost everything. My job, my reputation, my future. No one will hire me now. Everyone in the galaxy knows what I did to you." Jake leaned forward. "Lisa, I want you to understand something. What happened between us was wrong, but it doesn't define who you have to be for the rest of your life. But I judge you by your appearance. I was cruel and arrogant. I represent everything that's wrong with how people treat each other." "You made a mistake," Jake said calmly. "A big mistake, yes. But I've made mistakes too. We all have." Lisa shook her head. "Not like this. You're a hero. You save lives. I just ... I sell clothes and look down on people." Jake was quiet for a moment. "Lisa, do you know why I really came back to see you? To make sure I learned my lesson?" "No. I came because I think you could help other people avoid making the same mistake you made." Lisa looked confused. "What do you mean?" "The Galactic Refugee Assistance Program needs people to work with families who have lost everything," Jake explained. "These are people who've been through wars, disasters, evacuations. They often arrive with nothing but the clothes on their backs. They need someone who understands what it's like to lose everything and start over." "You want me to work with refugees?" "I think you could be good at it. You've experienced firsthand how it feels to be judged and rejected. You know what it's like to have people treat you badly because of circumstances beyond your control." Lisa stared at him. "But why would you help me? After what I did?" Jake smiled. "Because that's what humans do. We help each other grow and become better. We don't just punish mistakes, we learn from them and use them to help others." "I don't understand." "The whole galaxy hates me right now." "The galaxy is angry about what happened," Jake agreed. "But anger fades. What matters is what you do next. You can hide and feel sorry for yourself, or you can use this experience to help others." Lisa wiped her eyes. "Do you really think I could help refugees? I think you could be exactly what they need. Someone who understands that a person's worth isn't measured by their appearance or their possessions. Someone who knows that everyone deserves to be treated with dignity." Over the next hour, Jake explained the refugee program. Families from war-torn worlds needed help adjusting to new lives on peaceful planets. They needed people who could see past their worn clothes and traumatized faces to the human beings underneath. "It's not easy work," Jake warned. "The pay isn't great, and the conditions can be difficult, but it's important work. Some of the most rewarding work you can do." Lisa thought about the Centaurian children who had thanked Jake in their video message. She thought about the families he had saved, and the months he had spent helping them rebuild their lives. "If I did this," she said slowly, "would it make up for what I did to you?" Jake shook his head. "Lisa, you don't need to make up for anything to me. I forgave you the moment it happened. This is about making up for something to yourself." "What do you mean?" "You need to forgive yourself and become the person you want to be. Someone who treats all people with kindness and respect. Someone who sees the best in others instead of judging them." Lisa was quiet for a long time. Finally, she looked up at Jake. "Will you help me? Will you teach me how to be better?" "I'll introduce you to the program coordinators," Jake promised. "But the real work, becoming a better person, that's something only you can do." 6 months later, Lisa Morgan stood in a refugee settlement on the planet New Geneva. She was helping a family of Centaurian survivors settle into their new home. The father looked tired and worn from months of displacement. His clothes were simple and old, Lisa looked at him and saw not his appearance, but his strength. This man had protected his family through a war and brought them safely to a new world. He was a hero in his own way. "Mr. Keth," she said warmly, "let me show you where the children's school is located. I think your daughter will love it here." The Centaurian father smiled gratefully. "Thank you, Miss Morgan. You are very kind." As they walked through the settlement, Lisa thought about Jake Harrison's words. The real measure of a person was not in their clothes, but in their character and actions. She was finally learning to see people the way Jake had always seen them, as fellow beings deserving of respect and dignity. Jake had been right. Helping others had helped her heal and become the person she wanted to be. The galaxy might not forget what she had done, but they would also remember how she had changed, and that, Lisa realized, was exactly the kind of legacy worth having.